Hello students, now we are going to discuss the primary key in a relationship set. Okay. Now what is the need of your primary key in a relationship set? That's the first question that we need to understand. Okay. Why it is required? It is required to distinguish among the various relationships in a relationship set. Okay. As you all know that a relationship consists of different relations. Okay. And we use the individual primary key of the entity set in a relationship set to identify the relationship in a relationship set. So this is what is the primary key plays a vital role in case of a relationship set. Okay. So just to extend this discussion, as you all know that let we have a relation set R, okay, which is consisting of different entity sets. This is E1, E2, and up to n entity set we have. Okay, then the primary key for the relationship set R consists of union of all the primary keys associated with the entity sets E1, E2, and En. Okay. So for a relationship set, we are going to construct primary key from the primary keys of all the attributes entity sets that is present uh, uh, all the attributes that is present inside of entity sets, and those are the primary keys. That means we are just constructing a primary key for a relationship set by taking the primary keys of individual entity sets. This is the basic key. Okay. Now next point is that sometimes a relation in a relationship set will also have some sorts of attributes. Okay, so we will also consider those attributes as a primary key. So the second point discuss about that. If the relationship set R has attributes A to M attributes, then the primary key of our relationship set R also includes these attributes. Okay, and it's going to construct a primary key set. Okay, now this let us understand this thing with a small example. Now we have two entities here. Instructor is an entity and student as an entity. Suppose this is an entity set 1 and this is your entity set 2. So in this entity instructor entity set, the primary key is your instructor ID. This is your primary key. In case of a student entity set, the primary key is your student ID. This is your primary key. Now there exists a relationship advisor. This is your relationship, or we can say relation, that is your advisor between these two entity set. Then the primary key for this relationship advisor is that entity set advisor is that it is going, if I design an advisor entity set advisor relationship, then this is your advisor. So it is going to consider primary key of instructor ID of instructor ID. Okay, then we have your student ID. So this is going to have the primary key for this advisor relationship set will be your student ID and your instructor ID. Okay. Now this point is well justified with the second point. Okay. Are consisting of union of primary keys for entities, all the entities that is present in your relationship set. So in this relationship set, we have two entities. So the primary key for this relationship set is the primary key of your entity set 1 and entity set 2, that is instructor ID and student ID. Then coming to the next point, that if the relationship set has its own attributes, let's suppose say this is the advisor relationship, we have an attribute, let's suppose date. This date is going to this is an attribute. Okay, this date is going to identify the date on which a student is enrolled with the instructors, within instructors. So if this would be there, then the primary key for this relationship set will also include this date attribute, and it's going to be like that. The advisor relationship set will have primary key your instructor ID, okay, then it will have primary key student ID, then it will have a date. So these three is going to construct your primary key for this advisor relationship set. So this is how the primary key for a relationship set is going to be defined. Okay. Now next point is that we have many relationships, many relations. We have so many relations, different relationship. Okay, that is why one to one, one to many, many to one, and many to many. So the last point it says that the choice of primary key for a relationship set depends on the mapping cardinality. What is this mapping cardinality? We have already discussed in our previous lecture. So this mapping cardinality is nothing but the relationship that exists between your entity sets. So it may be your one to one, okay. It may be one to many. It may be many to one, or it may be many to many. So depending upon the kind of relationship that exists between the among the entity sets, based on that we are going to identify the primary key for a relationship set. Okay, so we'll explore how exactly this primary key is being identified in different relationship set. Maybe it is your one to one, one to many, many to one, and many to many. We'll try to find it out in our next lecture. Okay, thank you.